Welcome to Lesson 1.8, Unit 1, Patterns and Relations. Today we're going to be looking at reading and writing equations using algebra tiles. As usual, feel free to pause the recording anytime you wish and rewind if you have to, and play it as many times as you can. If you have any questions, come and see me at the school. So, in this lesson, students are going to learn to create equations and expressions using algebra tiles. Now, algebra would be no good for us, no good to us unless we could solve problems. So algebra tiles is the beginning of setting up and making sure that you understand how to solve an equation. We're going to start with the tiles, and once you've mastered them, we're going to continue on to what's called symbolic, where you'll use numbers and variables. So let's start with the beginning part first, creating an expression using algebra tiles themselves. An algebra tile is really just a small rectangle or a small square, and the rectangle is used to represent an X right there, and the little tiny square is used to represent a positive 1. We're only going to be using positive 1 and positive X's in this lesson. So our first goal is to create an expression using tiles. Well, if you take a look at the expression x plus 1 and we break it up into pieces, this is really x plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. This is the 4 that you see right here. So we need to create the tiles that show x and 1, 1, 1, 1. So what you do is you get your pencil and you grab the x right there. There's an x tile, long rectangle. And you have to show 1, 2, 3, 4. And that really is all there is to it. If you look at it, this is the x right here that we created. And these are the 4 ones right there. So this equation, this expression, x plus 4 is represented by these tiles right here. So when you're asked to represent expression using tiles, this is exactly what you're going to have to do. So going on to the next one. I've got 2x plus 3. Now in this case, I've got 2 x's and I got 3 1's. So to create it, I'm going to create 2 x's this time. There's my 2 x's, and of course 1, 2, 3. Now when you're drawing these, I want to caution you. Make sure that your x's are rectangles, clear. Don't start trying to tell me that this is a rectangle and this is your 1. They're too close together. It's quite easy for you to take and make a rectangle clearly a rectangle and make your 1's clearly squares. They have to be different for me to tell you that I know that you know what you're doing. So here's my 2 x's right here. That represents this part right there. And here's my 3. That represents that right there. To create 4x plus 1, I have to draw 4 x's this time. So I'm going to grab my rectangle and create 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 x's, and there's my 1. To create 3x plus 6, I need 3 rectangles, 3 variables. There's my first x, there's 2 x's, there's 3 x's, and for my 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 3x plus 6. So now that you know how to go from what's called the symbolic right here to the actual tiles, let's go backwards. I'm going to give you the... So now what we're going to do is we're going to work with expressions, and we're going to get you to go backwards. So to do this, we have to identify which ones are the x's and how many we have, and which ones are the 1's and how many we have. So if you take a look here, I only have one rectangle right there. So that means that rectangle is going to be an x. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1's. That means I've got 5 small squares. That's a 5. So this expression is x plus 5. We normally put the variables first, and we put the number second. Okay, going to the next one. Taking a look at this, you can take and see that I've got 1, 2 x's. That means I've got 2x. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 1's. So that's plus 8. Okay. So those are expressions. Now remember, the difference between an expression and an equation is the expression has no equal sign, and it's not solvable until somebody tells you what the x is. An equation is different. An equation has an equal sign, and you could figure out the equation simply by taking a look at what value of x you need in order to make this side equal to this side. Now we're going to get to solving that stuff later. But for now, this is an expression right here, and this is an equation. Now we can make expressions using tiles. We can also make equations making tiles. So here is an example of an equation. You notice on the left side over here, this is the left side, and I have a right side, and they're separated by a line here right in the middle. Now that line is your equal sign. So now, just like we created the expressions before, you're going to take and convert these tiles into their variables and their numbers. So here I have 2x's, so that's 2x. Here I have 3, so that's a 3. Since they're together, we add them. On the right side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so the right side has 7. So in this case, this equation is 2x plus 3 is equal to 7. So let's do another one. Again, we have to create an equal sign, so grab a line down the middle of your page, and that's going to represent the equal sign. The left side, I'm going to be creating the 3x plus 2, so over here I have to create 3x plus 2, and over here I have to create 8. So I'm going to my tiles, 3x's, just like we did before. There's 1x, there's 2x, there's 3x, and now I have to create the 2. There's my 2. On the right side, I have to create 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there is 3x plus 2 is equal to 8. Let's go down and do another one. Now I've got 2x plus 4 is equal to 8. So again, you need a line down the middle. That's your equal sign. The left-hand side is going to be my 2x plus 4. The right-hand side is going to be my 8. So, grabbing the 2x plus 4, 1x, there's my 2x's, and here's my 4. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 2x plus 4 is equal to 8. Now, I can also give you the tiles and ask you to give me the symbolic. Remember, the symbolic is the letters and the numbers. So all you have to do is identify what we have in tiles and write them down on the line. So remember, this here is your equal sign. I have right here 3x's, and I have plus 1. Over here, I have 6. So this set of tiles is 3x plus 1 equals 6. Going down to the next one. Here I have 2x's, and I have plus 1 equals, and there's 7 over here. So that's 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. If you have any questions or you're confused in any way, back it up, look at it again. What about the following? Well, here I have x plus 1, and here I have 6. And of course, this is your equal sign. Okay, so now we're going to do the next step. The next step is how to use equations and how to solve them using tiles. We can create them, and now we're going to be doing the actual solving of it. There's only one rule you have to almost always remember, and that is you have to always do the same thing to both sides. So let's start with an equation to solve. So let's draw the equation. We get x plus 1 is equal to 6. So drawing this equation, I've got, I'll use the easy way of doing it. There's x, and here's 1. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have an equal sign in the middle. If you think of this as a teeter-totter where the sides must stay balanced, it's actually pretty easy to solve. We want to get the square, sorry, the rectangle, we want to get the x right here. We want that x to be by itself. To do that, I have to get rid of this one right here. Now remember our rule. whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So let's take a look at what happens. Here we have the same equation. I've just redrawn it for you. If I take and remove this from one side, and I have to take one of these away also, I have done the same thing to both sides. What that leaves is the following. And you can see that now that I've got the x by itself, I know that x here is equal to 5. And that solves that equation. Now I know it seems very simple. It's going to get more complicated. What about x plus 4 equals 7? Well, first thing we need to do is to draw x plus 4 equals 7. So here's x plus 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with my equal sign. To solve this, I need to get the x alone. In order to get the x alone, I have to take these 4, and they've got to be subtracted. So I'm going to subtract them from the left-hand side. Now, whatever you subtract from the left-hand side, remember our rule, you have to do the same thing to the right-hand side. So, to solve this, we're going to subtract 4 from each side. So what does that look like? Well, if you go down here, this is x plus 4, so here's the 4. We're going to subtract that. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to take 4 from that side. Now, because it's like a teeter-totter, whatever you do to the left side, you have to do to the right side. That means I've done the same thing to both sides, so my teeter-totter is going to stay balanced. That means that here on the left-hand side, I have an x. On the right-hand side, I have a 3. So x is equal to 3. Let's do another example. Now this one's slightly different. This one is solved by using division, and it's also another way of saying it's solved by grouping. If you have 2x is equals to 6 and you draw it, it's going to look like I've drawn right here. Here's my 2x over here, and here is my 6 right here. To solve this equation, we have to use grouping. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up one set of tiles in 2 equal rows so they match the x's. So I need a set of tiles to go with this, a set of tiles to go with that, and they have to be the same amount. Because when we're dividing here, we're going to divide by 2 or put them in 2 groups. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take one of these to go here, one there, and one there, and then one here, and one here. So what does that look like? Well, take a look. It's going to look like this. Here is my 3, and here's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, you can see that I've got the x's right here. This x matches up with 3 1s. That means that our solution is that an x is equal to 3. This x here is 3, and this x here is also 3. This is called grouping. So let's try another example. 3x equals 12. We're going to solve for x. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out by drawing the tiles for 3x equals 12. So here is 3x. 1, 2, 3. And on the right-hand side, I need 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's my 12, and there's my equal sign. So 3x is equal to 12. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to group them together. Now, if you're thinking ahead when you draw these, it might be easier for you to draw them in such a way that they're already sort of grouped up. But I'm not going to do that just yet. We'll do that when we do the next question, okay? So I need to redraw this grouped so that each one of these x's matches up with an equal number of tiles on the right side. So I'm going to redraw this. Here's my x, here's my first one, here's my second one, and here's my third one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to relocate these right here so that there's an equal amount with each one of these x's down below. Now if you do simple division, there's 12 here and you want to put them in 3 groups. 12 divided by 3 is 4, which means that each one of these has to match up with 4. So let's do that. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you end up with is that one of these x's is equal to 4. Now that means that x is equal to 4. And if you take, I'm sorry, back up a bit here a second. And you can see that one of the ways to shorten this up is if you took and when you asked to draw the tiles here, instead of drawing them all mixed up like I did on the right hand side over here, why don't you just draw them already in grouped, grouped like this, and then what will happen is you can save yourself a drawing. Okay. Now what I'm looking for to mark this is quite simple. I'm looking at, can you draw 3x plus 12? Now whether you draw 3x plus 12 like this or 3x plus 12 like this, you're still drawing it. So I'll know you know what you're doing. Next thing you have to do is to regroup them in groups of 4. So you can do 2 things in one drawing. Draw the 3x plus 12, sorry, 3x equals 12, and then group them in 4s all at the same time. The last step is to tell me that you understand that one of these x's is actually a 4, and you do that by circling it. And then, of course, the final thing to do would be x equals 4. So how would I mark it? Well, if you're doing it all in one drawing, I'd give you 1 mark for drawing 3x equals 12, 1 mark for grouping it properly, 1 mark for circling to tell me that you know this is the answer, and then 1 mark for converting the tiles back into the symbolic. So this question here would have been worth 4 marks. Okay, let's go to another question. Now, this one is 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. This is what we call a combined question, or what's called a 2-step equation. Now, 2-step equations are called that because you have to take care of the grouping. You also have to take care of the plussing and adding. So in this case, I've got 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. Your first job is to draw 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. So that's what I'll do first. Here is 2x plus 1. And over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the first mark you would get for this question would be to be drawing 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. Now, the first thing you need to do always is get rid of the loose tiles, these ones here that would be added onto the outside of it. In this case, there's only 1, but sometimes you can have more than 1. But you got to get rid of that first. To do that, we have to subtract it. So to do that, what this is going to look like is you're going to have your 2x plus 1, 1, 2, and your 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7, right? Yeah. And then this is going to go away. One of those will match one of those. So how am I going to mark this? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is, did you correctly draw it? And did you actually remove 1 from each side so that you have only got left the 2x and the 6? Now, I'm going to save myself some work. Okay? 2x equals 6 there. So you're taking and gotten rid of 1 from each side here. 1's taken away, 1 on this side, 1's taken away on the other side, and what we have left is this, 2x is equal to 6. Now, when you first draw this, you could have taken this and drawn all of these in a row, and that would have been okay. But what would happen was, you'd have to take this whole drawing here, right, and when you get to the next part of the next drawing, you have to take now and redo the grouping. So to redo the grouping, you're going to take this and you're going to regroup it, but then you're just going to put it right back into this format. So make sure that you draw it like this to begin with and save yourself some time. I'm going to be doing some other examples with you in a moment, and I'll show you how to make sure that you get them done with the least amount of work as possible. So now that I know this, I've got them grouped. I've circled to tell Mr. Reedy that I know what x is equal to. In this case, x is equal to 3. All right, let's do another example. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shorten up some of the information that we have to do so that we don't have to draw as many times. The first thing you have to do is go 3x plus 5 is equal to 11. So that's my first goal. 3x plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And over here I have 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now, I've drawn it. Check. Secondly, I'm going to take and get the 3x plus 5 equals 11. I'm going to take the 3x, I'm going to get that alone. I'm going to do that by getting rid of the 5 on this side and get rid of another 5 on this side so we stay balanced. If you get rid of 5 on each side, check. Now, what we need to do is we have to redraw this, but when we redraw it, we're going to make sure we draw it already grouped to save us some work. So here is the redrawing. Here's 1, 2, 3. There's your 3 x's which are left. On the right hand side, you'll see 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I've got them grouped, so I've redrawn everything. Check. And telling Mr. Reed that you know the answer, and of course that x is equal to 2. So in this question, you're going to see, did you draw it correctly? Check. Did you take 5 from each side? Check. Did you redraw it correctly? Check. Did you circle it and tell me that you knew what the answer was? Check. And did you convert it back into a symbolic? Check. So in this question, you're going to get 5 marks. Hopefully you got 5 out of 5. Okay. Now on your notes, the next page, you'll see a couple of empty spaces here where I could have redrew everything and then put them in groups. And you can see that this is an extra drawing that I avoided doing. And this is an extra drawing that I avoided doing by making sure that I just was thinking ahead when I did it. The answer still comes out to be the same. So let's go to the next question. Oh, sorry. I'm going to back up a second now, and we're going to do a couple of extra examples to help you out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start out with something simple. X plus 3 is equal to 4. Now I know that you can look at this, and I know that you can say, well, Mr. Reedy, it's obviously got to be 1, so X is 1. That isn't the whole thing I'm trying to teach here. I can ask any grade 1 kid, what do you add to 3 to get 4, and they can tell me that. I'm teaching how to use tiles. So the first thing you're going to do, set up your equation. So here's your X, and your 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you drew the tiles, check. Take away 3 from this side, take away 3 from this side, check. Now you're going to redraw it. Here's X, and 1, and of course you have your equal sign between it. So redrawing it, check, and tell me that X is equal to 1, check. And you'll see that I've got 4 marks here. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an equation on the board. I want you to pause the recording and I want you to try it, okay? So here we go. X plus 3 is equal to 9. Pause the recording, do this equation, and then I will do it and show you how to, and you can mark it. All right, so hopefully you have the answer. Let's take a look at how you did. So I'm going to start out with X and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And of course I have an equal sign. So if you do this, check. Okay? They must be squares. You cannot use circles. Secondly, take away 3 from this side. Take away 3 from that side. If you removed, subtracted 3 from each side, check. And now you need to draw what's left. Here's X. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the equal sign between it. If you redrew it, check. And now tell me that X is equal to 6. All right, let's do one more. Oops, back up. So we have X plus 4 is equal to, let's say, 7. Okay, pause the recording and you do it. All right, first thing you need to do is draw X and 4, and then on this side, and you have to have equals. If you drew X plus 4 is equal to 7, check. Now take 4 from each side, there we go, and 4 from this side, did that, check. Now draw what's left over, here's 4, sorry, there's X, and you have 1, 2, 3, and you have your equal sign. If you redrew it, check. and of course telling me that x is equal to 3 also. So there's your solution for x plus 4 is equal to 7. Now, let's do let's do an equation which is a two-step equation. So let's do 2x plus 3 is equal to 9. I hope I haven't done this one in your notes before. Let's try it. So, let's have you do this one. Pause the recording, try it, and then I will show you how to do it. Alright, welcome back. First thing you need to do is to draw 2x plus 3 on the left-hand side. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the right-hand side. And there's your equation. If you do that, give yourself a mark. And now you have to get rid of these 3 on the left and the matching 3 on the right. If you did that, give yourself a mark. Now we're going to redraw it, and make sure when you redraw it that you redraw it already grouped. It'll save you a drawing. So, 2 x's, here we go, 1 of them, 2 of them, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here, so splitting those up into the 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if you redrew it, check, okay? If you redrew it grouped, get another check. That's where you can get 2 marks for the same thing. Tell me that this is x equals 3, and you're done. So take a look at the marks. There's 5 marks, 6 marks there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So have you got 6 marks? Good. All right. Now this is the thing here that can sometimes cause a little concern. What you're doing is you're getting a mark. This mark is for redrawing it, and this is a mark for actually doing the grouping. Now I'll explain when we get into symbolic conversions that every single one of these steps actually can be reproduced using numbers and variables. So it's important that you understand that you're going to have 2 marks for this, because when we convert it to a symbolic, you'll get 2 steps there. Let's try one more of these, and then we'll move on to the rest of the question, or the rest of the lesson. So 3x plus 4 is equal to 13. Let's make it easier that way. Okay, so pause the recording and do this and see if you can get the marks. Okay, welcome back. Your first step would be to draw 3x plus 4 is equal to 13. So there's 1, 2, 3x, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and you have to have an equal sign. If you did that, give yourself a mark. Now you have to get rid of the 4 which are loose. Those 4 are gone. And any 4 over here, they're gone. There's your second mark. And now you have to redraw it. And again, I encourage you to redraw it grouped. You get 1 mark for redrawing it. So let's do that. Here's your 1, 2, 3. And then you get 2, 4, 6, 8, you get 9 on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't forget your equal sign. So then I've got an answer right here. So in this case, my answer, x, is equal to 3. So when I'm marking this, you're going to get 1 mark for drawing the equation originally, 1 mark for taking away 4 from each side, 1 mark for redrawing it without the 4 in it, check, and 1 mark for grouping it, check, 1 mark for circling it, and 1 mark for doing x is equal to 3. You'll see that I've got another 6 marks there. Okay, so now that you know how to solve things, let's move on and actually use this to solve an equation. Now this is where it gets difficult. You have to create the equation correctly. If you create the wrong equation, what happens is you're going to solve it wrong and you'll get the wrong answer. So whenever you have something, always look for a total. At this level, we're going to be having totals, so you're going to have something has to equal something. And if you take a look, let's read this question. Bob is working for his uncle picking strawberries after school. He gets paid $5 a day, plus he gets $3 for every pail of strawberries he can pick. On Monday, he was paid $14. So there's our total. Whatever happens, he got paid $14. Create an equation using P for the number of pails of strawberries he picked, and show the equation using tiles, and then demonstrate with the tiles how to solve the equation. So let's take a look at this. He gets paid $3 for every pail, and he gets paid $5 a day. So his daily wage is $5. We'll put that down. And he gets $3 for every pail. So if he picks 1 pail, he's going to get $3, right? If he picks 2 pails, he's going to get $6. So this works. So let's take a look, just to get rid of this part so it doesn't confuse us. Okay, so now I have to solve this. Now I've got the 5 and the 3p backwards, but it doesn't really matter because they're being added. Whenever you do adding, order doesn't matter. 5 plus 3 is 8, and 8 plus 3 is 5. They're the same thing. So let's take a look at this. I've got to create 5, so that's pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got to create 3 p's. Now this is not an x, it's a p, but it is a variable. So we're going to treat the p just like that. Okay? So I've got now 14 on the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I know you wish you could do that too, but someday the technology will help you. So I've created the equation. I've created the tiles. So the solution now would be to solve the first step. I got to get rid of the 5. So take 5 from this side. Take 5 from this side. Now I'm going to redraw it, and I'm going to redraw it already grouped. So here's my 3. 1, 2, 3. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them on this side, so I've got to have them spread out 3 each. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now you notice I've redrawn them grouped, and I've redrawn them, so there's 2 marks right there. Now I have to tell Mr. Eda that I know that the answer is actually that P is equal to 3. Now, when I first made this question up, I had an extra drawing down here, so because I purposely redrew it mixed up so that you had to redraw it grouped to show you that it's easy to redraw it grouped already. So how am I going to mark this? Well, did you draw the equation? Actually, did you come up with the equation? Check. Did you draw it correctly? Check. Did you take 5 from each side? Check. Did you redraw it? Check. Did you group it? Check. Did you circle the answer? Check. And did you tell me what that answer is? 3. Now that means the question in our actual word problem up here was solve for how many pails of strawberries that he picked. So we know he picked 3 pails of strawberries. Okay. The most important part of this whole thing is actually right here. If you do not create the equation correctly, then what happens is you're going to get the question wrong. Because if you don't get the equation, no matter what you solve, it will be incorrect. Let's go to the next problem. A class of 18 students were divided up into groups of 3 to play Monopoly. How many groups were there? Now we have a class of 18, that means we have a total of 18. Now we have to make up 3 groups. So there it is, 3, and I'm going to use a G. You could use X if you want, but G represents groups nicely because they both start with G. So create the equation using tiles. You can see that I've actually got a location here for just drawing it and another one for grouping it. I'm going to do it all in the same one to save myself some work. So I've got 3G. So here's my 1, 2, there's my 3 groups. Now I've got 18 students on the right, and I have to put 6 of them in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there we go. So now I know that one of the groups has 6 kids in it. So in this case, each group, G, is equal to 6. So each group contained 6 students. There's my sentence. How about I spell it correctly today? Okay, how am I going to mark this? Come up with the equation, draw the tiles, group it, circle it, tell me what it means, and of course give me a sentence. Now you'll notice in this case I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks here. All right. Any questions on this one? Well, I guess you can't ask. Okay. A class has 5 more boys than girls. If the class has 17 students, how many girls are there? Well, in this situation, I've already told you that there's a total. Okay? Now, remember we talked about totals. Totals have to be on one side. So I need to have a class having 5 more boys than girls. Since I'm trying to find girls, I'm going to use G again. And I know that there's 5 more boys than girls. So in order to make this happen, and these are the girls. If I need 5 more boys, I'm going to add 5 to this. I take the girls, I add the 5 boys, I'll have 17. Okay? So, taking a look at this, solving it. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on this side, 17. There we go, 17. Okay, so I've drawn the tiles, check. Take away 5, check. Take away 5, check. Now redraw it. Here's my variable representing the girls. And if you take a look here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 boys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know, in this case, I think I said boys. This should be girls. All right, I've taken the boys. The 5 boys are taken away, leaving me with 17 girls. So in this case, the G is equal to 17. So the solution is, I guess I can put it down here too. There are 17. Did I just say 17? If we count these, there's not 17. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 girls. So there are 12 girls in the class. All right. Any questions? Pause it, go over it again, and you can come talk to me if you're confused. Candy bars come in packages of 4 at the fair. If Franklin purchases a total of 20 bars, so there we go, there's a total. They come in packages, so I'm going to call these P. Okay, and he come in packages of 4, so there's your 4 per package. He has a total of 20 bars. So if he gets 4 packages, he comes up with 20. I'm having a lot of issues with writing today. All right, so 4P, 4 packages is 20 bars. 20. So, taking a look at this, let's draw it. And again, we're going to draw it already grouped. So here's my 4 packages. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you do some simple math, 20 in 4 groups means there's 5 in each group. Okay? So here we go right there. That means that P is equal to 5. So how am I going to mark this? Come up with the equation, draw the tiles, group them, tell me the solution in tiles, and then tell me what it is symbolically. And of course it is a word problem, so you would say how many packages did he buy? He purchased, or he bought, B-O-U-G-H-T, 5 packages. Okay, and of course you get a mark for that too, because it's a sentence for a word problem. So there you go. Go up with the equation, draw the equation, group it, circle the correct the variable's amount, tell me what it is, and then put it in your sentence. Okay, a class was divided into groups of 4 with 2 left over to do a project on the Amazon River Basin. If the class had 18 students, how many students were in each group? Well, we know we have 18 students, so there we go. Now it says they're in groups of 4. All right, so if they're in groups of 4, that means we have 4 groups, 4 per group, with 2 left over. All right, so there we go. 4 per group plus 2 left over gives me a total of 18. This is a 2-step equation. So pause the recording and solve this yourself. Okay, so now that you're back, let's take a look at this. First thing I need to do is to go with 4G plus 2 is equal to 18. I have to draw the equation. So I'm going to draw 4G. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have 2. My smart board just stopped working, so give it a second to come back on power here. Okay, we're back. Our board just had a little bit of a stoppage there. So I have to draw 2 now. So here's 2. And on the right hand side I've got 18. 2 groups of 9 is 18. Okay, so I've drawn it. Now I need to take away 2. So I take away 2. That leaves me with 16 left. So now my next step is to take those 16 and put it in the groups of 4. Sorry, with the groups of 4 here. So here's my group 1, and group 2, group 3, and group 4, and there are 4 with each one. So I know now that I've got 4 per group, so my solution, I use g as my variable, then g is equal to 4. So now I need to have word problem. It says how many students were in each group. There were 4 in each group. Okay, so how am I going to mark this? Come up with the equation. Now you may have 4g plus 2, or you may have 2 plus 4g. That works. But either way, they have to be equal to 18, the total. Draw the tiles. Take away 2 from each side. Draw what's left, which would be the redrawing, and then group it. So there's your 2 marks. Circle your solution. Tell me what it means. Put it in a sentence. So in this case, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 marks. 6 for the actual tiles, 1 for the equation, and 1 for the sentence. Okay, and that is the end of this lesson. You're hopefully better equipped and better prepared. So if you have any questions, come and see me in school. If not, rewind or go back to the beginning and watch whatever portion of the lesson you wish to watch as many times as you wish. And it's time also to get ready for your unit final.